Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I want to start today by setting a scene that I think is going to be uncomfortably familiar for a lot of people listening.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's 2 in the morning, you're wide awake, you're staring at the ceiling, and your brain is just looping.
Ah, the 2.0 a.m. loop. I know it well.
But it's not looping on work, and it's not looping on your grocery list. It's looping on you.
On yourself, yeah.
Specifically on how you are failing to be the best version of yourself.
Oh, that phrase, the best version, it's so loaded.
It is. Maybe you skipped meditation 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
Maybe you yelled at your kids and now you're convinced you've permanently damaged their chakra.
Ruin their chakras. That's a very specific modern guilt.
Or maybe you just spent $50 on a new mindfulness app that you haven't opened yet and the little icon is just sitting there on your home screen judging you.
The judgment, yes.
Yeah.
It's the specific heavy dread of the betterment treadmill. It's very modern malaise, isn't it?
It really is. It's this sneaking suspicion that working on yourself, which is supposed to be this liberating, beautiful thing,
It's supposed to be freeing.
has somehow morphed into a second, unpaid, high-pressure, full-time job. And the worst part is, the boss is you, and the boss is a tyrant.
That is the core paradox we are grappling with today. I mean, we are living in what you could call the golden age of wellness.
Absolutely.
We have more yoga studios per capita than grocery stores in some cities. We have access to every spiritual text ever written, instantly on our phones.
Green juice, therapy apps, crystal shops.
Breathwork seminars, you name it. By all metrics, we should be the most enlightened, peaceful society in human history.
You think so?
And yet the data, and frankly, just looking around at our friends and at ourselves, suggests we are more anxious, more inadequate, and more exhausted than ever before.
We are spiritually burnt out. We're exhausted by the very things that are supposed to be rejuvenating us. And that is why I'm so excited to dive into today's source material. We are unpacking white-hot truth, clarity for keeping it real on your spiritual path, from one seeker to another, by Danielle LaPorte. Now, if you know Danielle LaPorte, you know this isn't going to be a soft, gentle, kind of love and light conversation.
No, absolutely not. Danielle LaPorte occupies this really fascinating niche in the spiritual marketplace. She's often called a spiritual fire starter, and that's a pretty accurate description.
I like that. Fire starter.
She has this vibe that is one part deep devotional mystic. She genuinely loves the divine, and one part, I don't know, disco queen who has seen it all and is just over the nonsense.
Right. She's in it, but she's also skeptical of it.
Deeply immersed in the woo-woo world. She lives it. But she retains this incredibly sharp, almost journalist-like skepticism about the industry of spirituality.
Which I think is so necessary right now, because honestly, the industry can be absurd.
It can.
Early in the book, she shares these anecdotes about her own life as a seeker, and they made me laugh out loud because they just highlight how ridiculous things can get.
Okay, look what?
She talks about the time she spent planning for synchronicity.
Wait, planning for synchronicity.
I'd like you to really think about that phrase. Planning
Yeah.
for synchronicity.
It's an oxymoron. It completely contradicts itself. By definition, synchronicity is the universe surprising you. If you're planning it, it's just a schedule.
Exactly. But that's the mindset, isn't it?
Right.
We think if we just control all the variables enough, we can, force the magic to happen.
We can optimize our way to a miracle.
Or the image she paints, and this is burned into my brain now, of meditating while having a coffee colonic.
Oh, no. That is a peak wellness moment. That's the top of the mountain right there.
She literally writes, if you can meditate with a tube up your ass, you are definitely headed toward enlightenment. It's funny, but it's also kind of tragic, isn't it?
It is, because it points to the desperation. When you are willing to go to those lengths, invasive, uncomfortable, expensive lengths, to feel clean or clear or evolved, it suggests that you feel fundamentally dirty or blocked to begin with. It suggests that the natural state of you just isn't enough.
So our mission today is pretty bold. We are going to try to dismantle the church of self-improvement.
That's the goal, and it's a big one. We want to examine why we treat spiritual growth like a to-do list, something to be ticked off alongside by organic baby food and file taxes.
Right, just another chore.
We're going to explore a really critical psychological concept called spiritual bypassing. We're going to look at the theological roots of why we feel so unworthy, specifically the original sin framework.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about boundaries in a way that I think will surprise people. We're framing boundaries not as walls, but as a spiritual necessity.
And the question hanging over this entire deep dive, the litmus test for everything we discuss, is simply this. Does your spirituality make you feel free?
That's the question.
Or does it just add to your list of chores? If you're listening to this and you feel like your spiritual life is just another source of guilt, this episode is for you.
Let's do it.
Let's start with what Danielle calls the resume of a seeker. Because to critique the culture, you really have to have been immersed in it.
You do. You can't criticize the club from outside the velvet rope.
Yeah.
And LaPorte, she has been in the VIP section of the spiritual club for years. She has the receipts.
Oh, she has miles of receipts.
Yeah.
She lists her spiritual resume to establish her credibility, but also to kind of poke fun at herself. And it is extensive.
I can imagine.
She talks about having both Western and Eastern astrologers on speed dial, which, let's be honest, that sounds exhausting.
It's the idea of redundancy systems for your soul. You need a backup astrologer in case the first one tells you Mercury is in retrograde when you need to sign a contract.
Right. You go to the second one hoping for a loophole.
Is there another planet that can override Mercury, please?
She's done firewalking. She's chanted in infrared saunas. She talks about tucking crystals into her bra for protection before going to a meeting at the White House.
Which I think is a detail a lot of people might secretly relate to. It's that blend of high-stakes professional life with this, secret magical thinking.
Totally. I'm a serious professional, but I also have a piece of rose quartz next to my heart, just in case.
Just in case.
And then there's the line about brewing kombucha for her cha-cha.
I'm sorry, for her what?
I mean, that is dedication to the microbiome on a level I cannot even comprehend.
It is. But what she's illustrating there isn't just, look at all the weird stuff I did. She's showing the transition from genuine curiosity, the resume of a seeker, to the compulsion to improve.
That's the turn.
That's the turn. She realized at a certain point that her spiritual path had just become another list of obligations. It was sitting right there next to Achieve Inbox Zero. It wasn't about connection anymore. It was about optimization.
It's the commodification of the soul. If I just input enough chanting and green juice, the output will be enlightenment.
Exactly.
But there was a breaking point for her. She calls it the bathtub epiphany. And I want to slow down here because this scene is so cinematic and so relatable.
It really anchors the whole book. She sets the scene with what you might call spiritual glamour. She's in the bath.
Right.
But it's not just water and soap. It's a cauldron of expectations. She's got the lavender oil for calm.
Of course.
She's got the Himalayan pink salt for purification. She's got the apple cider vinegar for pH balance. She is literally marinating in the right things to do.
It's a ritual, but the internal state doesn't match the external ritual at all.
Not even close. She describes herself in that tub, and she is just sobbing. She is in the middle of a painful divorce. She feels broken, and she's literally begging deities, plural, for help.
Bargaining.
Totally bargaining. Take this pain away. Fix me. I'm doing the bath. I'm doing the salts. Why does it still hurt? It's that moment of absolute desperation where you think if you just perform the ritual correctly, the suffering will stop.
And that's the trap, isn't it? The transactional nature of it. I gave you the lavender bath universe. Now you give me the peace.
Right. And then comes the pivot, the real moment. She steps out of the water. She catches her reflection in the steamy mirror. She's naked, vulnerable, dripping wet.
Yeah.
And the question that hits her isn't, did I do it right? Or am I pure now? It's so much more visceral. She looks at herself and asks, but do you feel free?
But do you feel free?
Yeah.
Wow. That question stopped me cold when I read it.
Me too.
Because I think if most of us asked ourselves that after our morning yoga or our meditation app session, the honest answer might be no.
Right.
I feel accomplished or I feel disciplined, but I don't feel free.
It's the ultimate metric. She looked at all the classes, the healers, the workshops, the crystals, all of it, and realized that despite all of that work, she felt burdened. And her insight there is the cornerstone of this whole discussion. If liberation is a chore, you aren't free.
Say that again?
If liberation is a chore, you aren't free. You cannot seek approval on the way to sovereignty.
You cannot seek approval on the way to sovereignty. That's a great line, but I want to push on it a bit. Isn't seeking approval or guidance part of how we learn?
Sure.
If I'm learning tennis, I need a coach to tell me my swing is wrong. Why is spirituality different? Why can't I look for approval there?
That's a crucial distinction. In tennis, you're learning a mechanic. You are learning a skill that exists outside of you.
Right.
In spirituality, you're uncovering an identity. You are trying to find out who you are. If you look for approval in spirituality, you aren't actually looking for skill. You're looking for permission to exist.
Permission, wow.
You're looking for someone to tell you that you are good. And LaPorte argues that as long as you need someone else to stamp your spiritual passport, you remain a child. You aren't free. You're just well-behaved.
So it's the difference between mentorship and dependency.
Exactly. Mentorship says, here is a map. Dependency says, carry me. And that dependency leads us directly into a concept that LaPorte leans on heavily, which was originally coined by the psychologist John Wellwood.
Spiritual bypassing.
That's the one.
I hear this term thrown around on Instagram constantly, usually as an insult.
Mhm.
But let's get precise. What does it actually mean in a clinical or psychological sense?
Okay, so the definition is using spiritual practices and beliefs to avoid dealing with painful feelings, unresolved wounds, and developmental needs.
So it's a defense mechanism.
It's a defense mechanism dressed up in robes. It's when you use spirituality to disconnect from reality rather than to connect deeper with it.
LaPorte has a very earthy way of summarizing it.
She does.
She says, all the woo is keeping us from dealing with our poo.
It's the woo versus poo dynamic, and once you understand this concept, you see it everywhere.
Everywhere.
It manifests as exaggerated detachment, acting cool and zen when you're actually devastated or furious.
Or anger phobia. That belief that if you get angry, you've lowered your vibration, so you just paste a smile on and repress it.
Oh, that one is huge.
I've definitely been guilty of that.
Yeah.
Someone cuts you off in traffic, and instead of yelling, you try to chant Om, but inside you're just boiling.
Which is incredibly unhealthy. Repressed anger doesn't disappear, it just goes into the basement and lifts weights. It gets stronger.
That's a good way to put it.
Another dangerous form is what she calls blind compassion. This is where you tolerate abuse or bad behavior because you think it's spiritual to be unconditionally accepting.
She gives some hilarious but also stinging examples of this. She talks about a friend who was going through a conscious uncoupling.
Right. We all remember when Gwyneth Paltrow popularized that term.
Of course. And it implies this mutual, respectful, high-minded separation.
Yeah, a beautiful ending.
Right. Well, LaPorte's friend was trying to consciously uncouple with a husband who was, by all accounts, totally unconscious. He was checking out, behaving badly, being mean. And she's there trying to make it a spiritual ritual, lighting candles for their separation, while he's basically torching the house.
That is a perfect example of bypassing. She was using the spiritual concept of conscious uncoupling to avoid the messy, painful reality that her husband was being a jerk and she needed to be angry about it.
Totally. Or the example of the friend who claims to be body positive and talks about wellness constantly, but is essentially disguising an eating disorder as a high-vibe diet routine.
Oh, I only eat light because I want to be full of light.
Yes, exactly. No, you're starving yourself.
That's the danger. It's so hard to spot because it looks like health. It looks like maturity. But underneath, it's all avoidance. We are bypassing the messy, gritty human reality in favor of a shiny spiritual veneer.
And you can't heal what you refuse to feel.
You can't. If you bypass the poo, you never actually get clear.
And this bypassing isn't just a random habit we pick up. It usually happens because we've bought into some fundamental lies about who we are.
Right.
LaPorte outlines the 3 big lies we fall for. And honestly, lie number 1 is the one that hit me the hardest because I think it's the foundation of our entire economy.
Lie number 1, the lie of inadequacy.
The core message here is, you were born defective.
And this is so deeply rooted in our culture, particularly in the West. LaPorte connects this directly to the religious concept of original sin.
And even if you aren't religious yourself, you breathe this air.
Exactly. You don't have to be a devout Catholic to be affected by the cultural programming of original sin. The basic idea is that humans are born with a stain. We come into the world in spiritual debt.
We're flawed.
We are fundamentally flawed and need to be saved or fixed or redeemed by something outside of ourselves.
She shares a childhood story about a Father Flynn telling her 2nd grade class that they have sin on their foreheads. And she literally checked her forehead for a bump or a mark.
A physical mark.
Yes, like physically checking for the defect.
It's tragic, really. That anxiety starts so young. And in the secular world, original sin just morphs into original deficiency.
Ah, okay.
It turns into, I'm not productive enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not rich enough. It's the engine of the self-improvement economy. If we all felt whole, we wouldn't buy half the stuff we buy.
That is so true. But LaPorte counters this with a concept from a theologian named Matthew Fox. She talks about original blessing.
Yes.
Now, for listeners who haven't read Fox, can you break that down? Because it sounds nice, but is it just a slogan?
No, it's a robust theological framework, and it was actually quite controversial. Matthew Fox was silenced by the Vatican for a time because of these ideas.
Wow.
The traditional view, original sin, says we start at -1. We are broken machines. Fox argued that this is a complete misreading of creation. Original blessing posits that because we are born from the divine or from the universe, however you want to frame it, our default state is goodness.
Okay.
Our default state is creativity and joy. We start at +1.
So the sin, if there is one, isn't a stain on our soul.
Right. The problem isn't that we are inherently bad. It's that we get covered in mud. We forget who we are. We fall into dualism, seeing ourselves as separate from the divine.
So the work of spirituality isn't to fix a broken machine.
It's to polish a diamond. And that fundamentally changes the motivation for self-improvement. It moves from fear, I must fix myself or I am bad, to celebration.
I want to reveal the goodness that is already there.
Exactly. She references that beautiful line from the movie The Help. Viola Davis saying to the little girl, you is kind, you is smart, you is important.
I love that scene.
That is the gospel of original goodness.
Right.
If you start from that place, the whole to-do list of spirituality changes. You aren't doing yoga to become good. You're doing yoga to enjoy your goodness.
That changes everything.
Yeah.
Which brings us to lie number 2, the lie of authority. This is the message that says, you need someone else to validate your worth.
And does the modern world love this lie? We have seen the explosive rise of the certified life coach.
Right.
And look, LaPorte is pro-coaching in general. She's used them herself. But she points out the absurdity that anyone can become an expert on your life after a weekend seminar or a few telemeetings.
There's a Henry Rollins quote she uses that I think should be tattooed on everyone's forearm.
What is it?
Knowledge without mileage equals bullshit.
It's so direct. I love it. We are drowning in experts who have the data but not the experience. They have the certification but not the wisdom. They know the map, but they've never actually walked the terrain.
But playing devil's advocate again, don't we need experts? If I have trauma, I shouldn't just rely on my own inner authority, right? I should see a trained psychologist.
Absolutely, 100%. And LaPorte would agree. If you have a medical issue, see a doctor. If you have a legal issue, see a lawyer. That's not what she's talking about.
So what is she talking about?
When it comes to the question of who am I, or what is my purpose, or what is my worth, there is no degree for that. The lie of authority is believing that someone else holds the keys to your own truth.
So it's about inner truth, not external facts.
Her point is, experts can offer data. That's fine. But you offer the interpretation. You are the ultimate authority on you.
Take what you want and leave the rest. That's the motto. Stop handing your power over to someone just because they have a website and a head fit.
Which segues perfectly into lie number 3, the lie of affiliation. Or, as we might call it, groupthink.
The message here is, groupthink is good think. We have this idea that community is always good, and if you aren't part of the tribe, you're failing somehow.
Pressure to belong.
Yes. But she tells a story here that, oh man, the Pablo anecdote, this made my skin crawl.
It's a harrowing example of forced vulnerability. I remember this part.
So she's at this workshop, and there's a guy named Pablo who is clearly terrified. He's shy. He's hesitant. The leader, who has that flashy, I'm an enlightened guru vibe,
Ugh, I can already picture him.
he essentially bullies Pablo into sharing his deepest trauma in front of a room full of strangers. We're talking abuse, squalor, really heavy stuff that Pablo was clearly not ready to share.
And instead of holding that space with professional care and respect, what happens?
The leader forces a group hug while the DJ plays Foreigner's I Want to Know What Love Is.
You are kidding me, Foreign.
I am not kidding you. It sounds like a parody from a sitcom, but it's a real experience.
Yeah.
And it illustrates the danger of forced intimacy in these spiritual settings.
It's spectacle, not healing. It's emotional porn, is what it is.
That's a great way to put it. LaPorte calls it out. She says authentic healing often happens in private. It happens in the quiet moments with a qualified therapist or a best friend, or just with yourself.
Right.
It doesn't need to happen in a hotel conference room with strangers hugging you to an 80s power ballad.
No. And she talks about the spiritual hangover that comes after events like that. You feel high in the moment because of the group and energy, oxytocin is flowing, everyone is crying.
The workshop high.
Yes. But you crash hard when you get home because you've opened yourself up without proper safety or integration. You feel exposed and raw, not healed.
So when you strip away those lies, that you're broken, that you need an expert to fix you, and that you need the group to validate you, you are left with something actually quite terrifying. You're left alone in the room with yourself.
And for most of us, that is the most uncomfortable room in the house. Because when we're alone with ourselves, that's when the inner critic gets the loudest.
And that brings us to section 3, self-love, self-hatred, and the ego. LaPorte retells a story from 1990 involving the Dalai Lama that exposes just how uniquely Western this self-hatred actually is. I love this story because it shows such a massive cultural gap.
It's a pivotal moment in cross-cultural psychology. So it's 1990. A group of prominent Western psychologists and scientists are meeting with the Dalai Lama at his residence in Dharamsala.
Yep.
And they ask him a question about self-hatred and how it affects spiritual progress.
And the Dalai Lama literally did not understand the concept.
He had no frame of reference for it. He knew the English words self and hatred, but the combination, it didn't compute in his worldview. He sat there for a long time consulting with his translator. The room went silent.
I can't even imagine being in that room.
The Westerners were thinking, did we offend him? Did we say something wrong?
And he finally asks, is this a nervous disorder? Are people like that very violent?
That is just mind-blowing. The idea that hating oneself is so foreign to him that he assumed it must be a rare and severe mental illness.
And when the Westerners explain that, no, this is actually very common, that most people in the West internally berate themselves, feel unworthy, and despise parts of their own nature, he was genuinely shocked.
Just floored.
He looked at them and delivered this white-hot truth. He said, you have Buddha nature. How could you think of yourself that way?
You have Buddha nature. How could you think of yourself that way? It really highlights how the West has completely normalized self-loathing.
We haven't just tolerated it, we use it as fuel.
Yes. We think if we hate ourselves enough, we'll be motivated to lose the weight, get the promotion, be a better person.
It's the Puritan work ethic applying to the soul.
Yeah.
I am trash, therefore I must work hard to become compost.
Exactly. We use criticism as a driver for self-improvement. But as LaPorte's therapist told her in a great line, crumbs keep you starving, not fed.
Oof.
You can't hate yourself into a version of yourself you love. The vehicle doesn't get you to that destination.
And this brings us right back to the to-do list.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier, but here she frames the to-do list as a literal weapon of self-hatred. She did this experiment where she listened to the voice of her list.
Right, because we think our to-do list is neutral, buy milk, call mom. But she listened to the subtext, the energy behind it.
And it wasn't just buy milk, it was be more loving, lose 10 pounds, save the planet, be less critical.
It was a pile of shitty shoulds.
Shitty shoulds, that's the phrase. Underneath the halo polishing of I'm working on myself, there was just a constant stream of you are not enough yet.
You wouldn't have to meditate if you weren't so stressed, and you wouldn't be so stressed if you were better at your job. It's just a loop of shame.
It is. So if we stop hating ourselves, what do we do with the ego? Because a lot of spiritual teachers, especially in the New Age world, say we need to kill the ego.
That's to the ego. Ego is the enemy. Yeah, we hear that all the time.
But LaPorte takes a very pragmatic stance here. She says, trying to kill the ego is like trying to kill your own skin. You can't. It's part of the apparatus of being human. It helps you navigate the world.
It's a survival tool.
Exactly. She talks about spiritual glamour, which is what happens when the ego puts on a turban. It's the ego in a spiritual disguise.
Oh, I know these people.
You know, people who use their spirituality as a qualification for special treatment.
I'm getting a download that you should do exactly what I want you to do types. That is pure ego, just using spiritual language to manipulate people.
Or the people who adopt elaborate spiritual names to sound important. She tells a really funny story about being at a retreat where everyone is introducing themselves as Walking Bear or Ananda or Shanti.
And she's feeling the pressure. She's thinking, oh God, I'm just Danielle. Do I make something up?
Right. She's like, do I use the porn star name formula? Yeah. First pet plus street name. I'm Fluffy Main Street.
I love that image. Hi, I'm Fluffy Main Street, and I'm a light worker.
But she grounds herself. She decides not to play the game. She introduces herself as Danielle LaPorte. My mother gave it to me. She thinks it's special.
That is such a power move. Owning your ordinariness is actually the most special thing you can do in that kind of environment.
It really is.
And that's her take on the ego. It's not a demon to be slain. It's a roommate, or as she puts it, a monster at the table.
A monster at the table.
You can't kill it. It's part of the human survival mechanism. So you have to befriend it. You have to train it. You say, I see you, ego. You can sit at the table. You can have a snack, but you do not get to drive the car.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, we've talked about the internal work, the lies, the self-hatred, the ego. Now we need to bridge this to how we treat other people.
Right.
Because this is where the nice girl conditioning really messes us up. This is section 4. Boundaries and the tolerance trap.
This is where the rubber meets the road. Because, again, there is a massive misconception that being spiritual means being nice, being unconditional, being a doormat.
She calls this the tolerance trap. We take so much crap because we think we need to be compassionate or egoless. And she illustrates this with the story of Sasha and Dick.
Okay.
And I have to say, hearing this story made me physically angry on her behalf.
It's a cautionary tale. So Sasha is a friend of hers. Her husband, Dick aptly named, as LaPorte notes,
All right.
is a massage therapist. And Dick tells Sasha that a female client explicitly propositioned him during a session.
Whoa! Now, in a normal world, with normal boundaries, what happens?
You fire the client immediately.
You say, get out, do not come back. This is wildly inappropriate.
Correct. But Dick doesn't do that. Instead, he keeps treating her. He keeps rubbing her naked body week after week.
No.
And Sasha, instead of exploding, instead of saying this is unacceptable, she goes to the spiritual self-help section of the bookstore.
Oh, Sasha.
She reads books on unconditional love. She tries to lean in. She tries to transcend her jealousy. She tries to be evolved about her husband massaging a woman who wants to sleep with him.
That is just painful to hear.
It is. LaPorte identifies this as foolish compassion. Sometimes it's called idiot compassion in Buddhist traditions. It's enabling. It's a lack of self-respect disguised as spiritual endurance.
She thought she was being spiritual, but she was actually abandoning herself.
Completely. And this links to a really interesting dynamic she points out, the relationship between empathetic spiritual people and narcissists.
It's the perfect pairing.
It is. Narcissists are looking for mirroring and validation. They want someone to absorb their needs. Empaths are looking to heal and understand. They want to give.
It's a lock and key.
It's a lock and key fit, but it opens a door to hell.
But there's a trap here. A new age idea that everyone is your mirror.
Right.
So if you meet a jerk, the teaching is, oh, that person is just reflecting my inner jerk. I need to work on myself.
And LaPorte shouts a big no to that.
Yeah.
That is such a dangerous teaching when it's applied to abuse or disrespect.
So what's her rebuttal?
Sometimes a jerk is just a jerk. They aren't reflecting your inner jerk. They are testing your ability to say no.
Testing your ability to say no,
Yeah.
that shifts the power dynamic completely. It stops you from navel-gazing, why did I attract this, and moves you to action.
To get out of my house.
Exactly. It moves you from a place of I'm defective to I have standards.
And that leads to my absolute favorite catchphrase from the entire book. It is the big fucking fence theory.
I was waiting for this.
It's a vivid image, and I think parents will especially appreciate this too.
She tells her son this advice. She says, feel everything. Keep your heart open. Open, open, open.
Okay, so far so good.
And then put a big fucking fence around it.
It's brilliant because it rejects the binary. Usually we think we have two choices, right?
Right.
One, be open and get walked all over the Sasha approach. Or two, build a wall, be cold, be cynical, let no one in.
The wall versus the doormat. That's it.
She proposes a third option, the gatekeeper. You keep the heart soft, you still feel love, you still feel empathy, but you have a very strict gate.
You screen them at the perimeter?
You only let people in who are respectful, who have earned the right to be in your inner world.
There's a great analogy she uses from Leanne Raymond about a river.
Yes, the river analogy. If a river is full and flowing, that rushing water is a natural boundary. You can't just walk across a raging river easily. You respect it, you stand back.
Right.
But a dry riverbed, anyone can walk all over it. Cows can wander through it. When we are full of ourselves in the good way, when we are flowing with our own self-worth, we have natural boundaries.
We get invaded when we dry ourselves out.
When we deplete ourselves trying to please everyone else.
So we've got our fence. We're keeping the bad energy out. But what happens when we've already been hurt? What happens when the invader was already inside the fence? Section 5 gets into the gritty reality of forgiveness. And I really appreciate this section because forgiveness is so often weaponized in spiritual circles.
It is. You have to forgive to be free. Holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. We hear these platitudes constantly.
They sound good,
Mm.
but they can feel like a demand. And LaPorte ran headfirst into this. She starts with her own divorce. She'd been through the ringer. She'd rebuilt her life. She had her big fucking fence up.
Okay.
And she was working with an energy healer she calls the Lady Ninja of the Light.
Great name.
And the Lady Ninja drops a bomb on her. She says, you have to forgive him.
And LaPorte panics. She literally felt sick to her stomach.
She has a full-on meltdown. Because, and I think we all do this, she interpreted forgive him as let him back in.
As be a doormat again.
Yes. She thought it meant drop the boundaries, be nice, pretend it didn't happen, invite him to Christmas. She refused.
And this is the crucial distinction that I think could save people years of therapy. The distinction between forgiving the soul versus forgiving the person.
Break that down for us. This is technical, but it's essential.
The healer clarified, she said. You don't have to let him back in. You don't have to be friends. You don't have to have dinner. You can keep the fence locked tight, but you have to forgive his soul.
How is that different? It sounds a little abstract.
It's energetic. It's about releasing the hook that keeps you tethered to the pain. LaPorte describes the practice as streaming light to the person's higher self, their soul, the part of them that is pure, before all the human messiness and betrayal, while maintaining strict physical and emotional boundaries in the real world.
So you can say, I love your soul. I wish you well on your journey over there.
Yeah.
Way, way over there, outside my fence.
Exactly. Forgiveness is an energy release for you. It is not a condoning of behavior for them. It doesn't mean what they did was okay. It just means you are no longer willing to carry the rock of hatred in your backpack.
And LaPorte is very firm on the timeline here. She completely rejects forced forgiveness.
You will forgive when you are ready to forgive. That's the rule. If you try to force it before you're ready because you think you should, it's just another form of spiritual bypassing. It's fake.
It's another shitty should.
It is. Real forgiveness is organic. It happens when the wound has scabbed over enough that you can finally, truly let go.
I find that so relieving. It takes all the pressure off. You don't have to be a saint today. You could just be a person who is healing.
Precisely. That's all you have to be.
Okay, moving to our last big section. We've done the inner work, the boundary work, the forgiveness work. Now, how do we interact with the world? Because if we just stay in our fenced garden, isn't that selfish?
That's a great question.
This section is about service and what she calls conscious optimism.
She introduces the yes and philosophy.
Which is an improv term, right? Yes and. Keeps the scene going.
It is, but she applies it to the state of the world. It's about the cognitive dissonance of being alive right now. It is, yes, there is heroin addiction and child brides and war and climate change. And there is Yo-Yo Ma playing the cello and a beautiful view and a good meal.
It's holding both.
Yeah.
The darkness and the light at the same time.
It's refusing to collapse into despair, but also refusing to collapse into denial. She really critiques those New Age teachers who say, don't watch the news. It lowers your vibration.
Ugh, I hate that advice. Just ignore the suffering of the world so you can stay high vibe. It feels so privileged and disconnected.
She calls that denial, not enlightenment. She says service is being enraged and compassionate. You have to know what's going on to be of service. You have to let your heart break, but not let it break apart.
But how do we serve without burning out? Because compassion fatigue is so real. We look at the news and we just want to curl up in a ball and give up.
She reframes a famous Mother Teresa quote. Mother Teresa said, "Give until it hurts." Now, Mother Teresa was a saint, but that advice is a recipe for burnout for most of us.
Sure.
LaPorte tweaks it. She says, give until it hurts so good, not until it hurts you.
Give until it hurts so good. That implies a flow. It implies you're getting something back from the act of giving.
Yeah.
It feels athletic, not draining.
Exactly. Like a good workout. You're tired, but you're exhilarated. If you burn out, you become a burden. You become another person who needs taken care of.
So self-care isn't selfish.
It's infrastructure for service. You fill your cup so you can pour from the overflow, not from the dregs.
She lists some practical magic, these small, low-energy ways to serve when you feel totally helpless. Because sometimes the world's problems feel so big, we just freeze. We think, I can't stop the war, so I'll just do nothing.
She suggests shifting the energy in micro ways. One is tithing, even just 2% of your income. It breaks the grip of scarcity. It tells your brain, I have enough to share.
Or meditation on the subway.
This is a classic Buddhist practice, but doing it on the subway is next level. You sit there, looking at the person across from you, who might be annoying you with their loud music or taking up too much space.
Yeah.
And you silently say, may you be happy. May you be free from suffering.
It changes your experience of the ride, doesn't it? The person doesn't change, but your irritation softens into a kind of connection.
Or blessing spaces, gas stations, grocery stores, just silently saying, may all who enter here be blessed. It sounds woo-woo, but it changes your relationship to your environment.
It turns a mundane errand into a secret act of service.
It makes you an agent of light in a fluorescent lit aisle.
It brings the magic back into the everyday. And that really seems to be the theme of the whole book. You don't need to go to an ashram in India. You can do this at the gas station.
Exactly. That's the real practice.
Okay, we have unpacked a lot. We've gone from coffee colonics to soul forgiveness. Let's try to synthesize this for the listener who is standing in their kitchen right now wondering what to do next. What are the key takeaways from White Hot Truth?
I think we can boil it down to 4 main pillars.
Okay.
Number 1, liberation shouldn't be a chore. If your spiritual practice feels like a heavy to-do list, stop, reevaluate. If it drains you, it's not medicine, it's poison.
I love that. Pillar 2.
Number 2, you are the authority on you. Stop looking for gurus to give you the answers. You have the data. You are the expert on your own life.
Pillar 3. This one's my favorite.
The fence. Open, gentle heart. Big fucking fence. Softness requires protection. Don't be a doormat, be a gatekeeper.
And the final pillar.
Number 4, forgive the soul, keep the boundary. You can release the anger without dropping your guard. You can wish them well from a very safe distance.
That is a powerful toolkit. And I think it frees us from that betterment burnout we started with. It allows us to stop striving and just start living.
It allows us to be human. That's the ultimate goal, isn't it? Not to be superhuman in a Marvel movie sense, but to be superhuman, really deeply, messily human.
Danielle LaPorte leaves us with one final provocative thought about self-love. We touched on narcissism earlier, but she flips it at the end. She talks about healthy narcissism.
It's a provocative term for sure, but she means owning your worth without apology. And the insight she leaves us with is this. Loving yourself is the only guarantee.
What does she mean by that?
She writes, loving yourself doesn't guarantee others will love you. It doesn't guarantee the world will mirror it back.
That's a hard truth.
It is. You can be full of self-love and still get fired or dumped or ignored. The only guarantee is that you will love you.
That's it. That's the whole game. The world might still be chaotic, people might still be difficult, but you have your own back. You are no longer your own enemy.
And that is enough. That is the white-hot truth.
So to everyone listening, you have our permission, and Danielle's permission, to tear up your spiritual to-do list. Take a bath because it feels good, not because it clears your chakras. Put up a fence. And maybe, just maybe, trust that you are already original goodness without changing a damn thing. Thank you for diving deep with us.
It was a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.